Folks who don't seem to know what to do in the face of a government actively legislating against people's identity. I know this is not new for many folks there. I won't try to justify white folks' slowness to see the insidious nature of white supremacy, but I will say that more and more of us are waking up and are working to see it and want to work together to dismantle these death-dealing systems that have ruled our lives for too long. I also know that for many of you who do identify painful experiences of your life. And though I cannot make right the wrongs that may have been done to you, I want to say that I am aware, and I am truly sorry for the pain you have experienced because of the church. Now, I will say I have busted my tail through years of theological education, studied the Bible in its original Hebrew and Greek, taken ordination exams and psychological evaluations, written statement after statement, paper after paper, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that anyone who has told you that you are anything less than a beloved child of God or of this universe has told you a lie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know what it feels like when my voice doesn't sound like my voice, especially when I keep cutting out. I know what it feels like to have a disconnect between my body and my identity. I know what it is to be told that my identity is not real, even while I know in my bones that it is. I know the conflict that comes with being forced into a box that is far too small for anyone to hold my gender. And I know the freedom that comes in finally being able to name and to claim who I am. And I know that that is something that no one can take away. I know how good it feels to be called by my name, to have my pronouns respected, and to feel seen in those ways. And I gotta say, one thing I didn't know before seminary was how queer the Bible is. So if y'all will bear with me for just 1 minute, I'm gonna share a story from the Bible. One of my favorite stories is of Mary Magdalene after the death of Jesus. So Mary and Jesus were super close. And as you might expect, his death destroyed her. It destroyed many, but it destroyed her. So a few days after his death, she goes to his tomb to clean his body. And she shows up and finds that his tomb is empty. Now, as you might assume, this adds insult to injury, right? And she is so lost in her grief that she doesn't recognize the man who comes up to her as the resurrected Jesus. They exchange a few words, but it isn't until Jesus says her name that she knows it is him. And in that moment, when he says Mary, Mary bears witness to the resurrection, and she then carries that message out. Now, I confess that I don't actually know what I believe about Jesus' bodily resurrection. I have no idea. I don't know. But I know that I have seen enough people come back to life to believe that it is possible. I have seen youth after youth come through the doors of that center on Westwood Avenue, afraid to make eye contact or to speak. I've seen them ask permission to be called by their name. And I have seen what happens when they are seen, when they are called by their name, when their pronouns are respected, and when they are given the space to ask questions and to claim their identities as their own. And when they are seen individually and collectively, something changes. They come to life. And the folks around them come to life too. Now, when I think about us as a community, this is the spirit I want to tap into. The power of coming back to life when we are seen and called by our names. And of knowing that God or the universe or the divine, however you may name it, has called us by name, even if it isn't the name we were given at birth. And knowing that is a thing that can never be taken from us. I know many folks are scared and many folks are angry. Of course we are. We've been told our identities will be erased, that we do not exist. And yet, here we are. In a world where most people go their whole lives afraid to ask questions about their gender identity, we are here and we are visible, and we will not go back into the closet for the sake of someone else's comfort. I don't know what's going to happen in the next week or in the next month or in the next year or in the next few years. But I do know we have a long history of people who've been erased or beat down, who have continued to rise up, to claim who they are in the face of a government or a church who said that they do not exist. And I know that pool is growing. And I know that we can tap into that. And I know that we have to tap into that. I also know that our liberation will be intersectional or not at all. We must remain in this together, and we must continue to stand with each other, to show up, to speak out and for one another. And the work for us is hard, because for many of us it means continuing to uncover wounds that for too long have been ignored. It means we have to work to dig out the festering wounds of white supremacy, transphobia, homophobia, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, ableism, sexism. So many of the things that many of us are taught never to see, much less to question. But we must question them, and we must challenge any system that tells us that some people are more worthy of safety or protection under the law than others. None of us are free until we are all free, and we are stronger when we are together. You know, we are so beautiful. We look around for just a minute. You can do it. You can look around. I know it's awkward, right? You can see each other. We are in this together. Right? For folks who identify as trans or non-binary, look around and see the community of support you have here. When you leave here today, as best you can, find folks who affirm you and who let you be seen, who want to see you. I mean, heck, if you can't find anybody, I got my cards, you can email me and I'll remind you. There are also tons of resources that you have. Take a look. And for folks who don't identify as trans or non-binary, or don't identify as LGBTQ, thank you for being here. Keep showing up. And also look at the ways in which your assumptions about gender or sexuality or race or class or ability status may be limiting you, causing you to carry stuff that you can go ahead and put down. And put it down. And for everyone, whatever challenge may come up in the future, even though things may seem insurmountable, remember that you have already claimed who you are, despite a world that tells you you're supposed to be something different. And that you are beautiful. Remember also, always, that you are never alone. Even more, remember that you are loved, that your identity is beautiful, and that your life is so worth living.